Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's start with a story in which our OP was faced with huge debts for hospital bills. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Not enough, you say? This happened in the 2010s. However, the backstory starts in 2005 when I got a lap band weight loss surgery. Things were kind of fine after the surgery for a while. I had occasional complications, but nothing I couldn't deal with. Then somewhere around 5 years post-op, I had a major complication. I wound up in ICU, in a coma for a bit, then in recovery before finally being sent home. I think I spent about 3 weeks in the hospital. Once I got home, the medical bills began to find their way to my mailbox. You see, when you're in critical condition within the best healthcare system in the world, this is sarcasm, you have access to the best doctors available. And also, each and every one of them is going to bill you for having set foot into your ICU room. This is probably where I should mention that I had no insurance. I paid for the initial surgery by financing it. I thought I was making myself healthier by getting weight loss surgery. Anyway, the bills. I did math once without counting the 2 hospitals, the surgeon's office, and 1 lab. I was making payments to 21 other doctors who had consulted on my condition while in ICU. These bills ranged from $60 to thousands of dollars. All told, I was close to $350K in debt. I knew this wasn't sustainable. I looked into bankruptcy, but in the meantime, I wanted to make a gesture to the doctors whom I owed money, so I sent each one $10 a month, $210 a month for those counting. One day, I opened a medical bill, and there was a handwritten sticky note on the bill. It essentially said, "We appreciate your payments, but $10 a month is not enough." Now, I'm certain that the person who wrote this had absolutely no idea about my financial position at this time and was just doing his or her job, but I was angry. I was angry for trying to help myself become healthier and making my life worse. I was angry for the crippling debt I'd put myself in, and I was angry because it would have been cheaper had I just died. I wanted to call this person who'd penned this sticky note and unload all of this anger, but alas, he or she was just doing their job. I wrote a check for $11 instead of the $10 I had been sending. I kept sending payments to all the doctors until it interfered with the bankruptcy case I filed, but I also never got another sticky note from that office. If you owed somebody $350, you have a problem. If you owe somebody $350,000, they have a problem. I hope you're doing well now. And our second story. Ice cream. This happened about 6 years ago when I decided to pursue an MBA in a foreign land. Cost of living didn't exactly work in my favor, and I ended up spending a lot more than I had originally budgeted for. I was burning through the money that I had brought with me at a very rapid pace, mostly on food and ensuring that I didn't sleep or study on an empty stomach. I desperately needed money to survive the remaining 6 months in the course and couldn't go back to the bank for any more loans. I had no more collateral to offer. Also, the school rules explicitly state that students were not allowed to take up a job while they were studying. Their intent was obviously to ensure that students solely focused on studies during the duration of the course. Besides, the curriculum was so intense, we barely slept 3 to 4 hours a day, ensuring that we completed all assignments. Point being, I was running out of money with no time or ability to take up a job to earn any money. Since most students invariably ended up staying as late as 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. completing assignments, the McDonald's across the street was a favorite go-to for midnight snacks. We knew that eating at a McDonald's was going to wreak havoc with our health, and pretty soon everybody was gaining weight around the tummy. I decided to step in with the idea of home-brewed, low-sugar, low-fat milkshakes for sale in the dormitory. I bought a hand blender, milk, ice cream, and some ingredients to flavor and tested a couple of recipes with a sample of students. They loved it and started ordering milkshakes every day. The milkshakes were healthier and cheaper than what was sold at McDonald's. My business broke even in a week, and pretty soon I was able to meet most of my daily food expenses. One particular evening, as I opened the refrigerator in the common area where I stored all my ingredients, I saw that someone had finished off my ice cream stock. Obviously, I couldn't sell any milkshakes that night. The next day, I bought some more ice cream and stored it in the refrigerator, and yet again, someone ate it all up. I bought another pack of ice cream the next day, and again, it was gone the next day. Unfortunately for me, there were no security cams pointed at this part of the common area, so I was left to pay Sherlock by myself. I bought a pack of expensive orange-flavored ice cream the next day and stored it as usual. Oh, I also added 2 whole bottles of orange-flavored liquid laxative to the ice cream and waited patiently outside the restroom on a chair the next day. Sure enough, Mr. Thief showed up 4 times to use the restroom. Our eyes met when he walked in the 5th time and I smiled broadly at him. He realized I'd done this to him, mustered a weak smile, and went to visit crap heaven. The best part? He couldn't even complain about me, since that would mean admitting he stole food from the common area, and I could register a formal complaint. In case you were wondering, he turned out to have a pretty strong stomach for someone who drank 2 bottles of laxative. Great work, OP. I hope that dumb thief thinks twice and has stopped stealing your food after that. And our last story. Don't mess with nukes. This happened about 4 years ago while I was serving in the U.S. Navy. My job aboard the ship was a nuclear mechanic. We were in charge of maintaining, operating, and taking logs on the systems associated with keeping the reactors in a safe condition. As a nuke, we spent an outrageous amount of time on the ship with weird hours compared to everyone else. When in port, it was not uncommon to pull 10 to 14-hour days with very short duty, 24 hours on the ship, and underway, out to sea, our given watch-standing rotation was 6 hours on, 6 hours off watch, so sleep was scarce, especially if you were unqualified, as you were expected to get qualified during the hours of 800 to 1600. Now I'm telling you this to explain that the nukes were basically always awake and on ship. Also, please keep in mind that we also control most of the water on the ship. Now time for the revenge part. We were underway for training operations and qualifications of pilots. While underway, the culinary specialists are supposed to make food for everyone in reactor around 2 a.m. because of our augmented watch rotation. Many of us would go without eating if this meal was not prepared because sleep. Well, the culinary specialist decided to stop putting food out. The first day, we all thought that maybe they forgot. The second day, we were pissed. The third day, we were ready to teach them a lesson. On the 4th night, I was up having a cup of coffee before assuming watch. One of my shipmates came up and approached me. Shipmate: "Hey, is there coffee?" Me: "Yeah, I just made some." The CSs were too effing lazy to make it. Why? Shipmate: "Good. We're turning off the water to the galley. Just wanted to make sure there was coffee." He grabbed himself a cup of coffee and sat down next to me, and we both eyed the kitchen where the cooks were cleaning up after the mid-rats. Suddenly, we heard panicked yelling coming from the kitchen. Shipmate grinned, satisfied, knowing that the cooks couldn't go to sleep unless they've completed their clean and finished prepping for the upcoming breakfast. This requires a very large amount of water. Suddenly, a junior CS popped out of the kitchen and stride over to us. Junior cook: "Hey, you two are nukes, right?" Shipmate: "Yup." "What do you want?" Junior cook: "Well, do you know what happened to our water?" Shipmate: "Oh, we're doing maintenance on the pot water system to this side of the ship." Junior cook: "Can you guys delay the maintenance at all?" Shipmate: "F no. We already tagged out the system, and unless you can hang tags and sign off on the maintenance, you can go F off back to your kitchen." The cook walked back to the kitchen, and shortly after, his senior cook, much more than him, had been in the Navy for 15 years, CS1, senior cook: "Why weren't we informed of this maintenance? Maintenance like that had to be run by FSO, food service officer, before commencement." Shipmate: "That wasn't done? Crap, we must have forgotten since most of us haven't eaten in 2 days because y'all stopped serving us." Senior cook let out a sigh, knowing exactly what was going on. Senior cook: "If we put something out, could maintenance be delayed so you guys can eat?" Shipmate: "Put some food out and I'll see what I can do." The cook scrambled to put anything out. They luckily hadn't thrown away some rice and gravy. Not the best meal, but it got their water turned back on. Extra information. The next day, I was filling in at the reactor office, and the food service officer, a lieutenant/03, stormed into the reactor office. He walked right by me into the reactor department master chief office and demanded to speak with someone about the prior night. The reactor department master chief smiled and pointed to the closed door, and with a tone that could only be described as giddy, said, "Right through there, sir." After the food service officer passed through the door and one shut the reactor department, Master Chief turned to me and said, "That poor man is about to be bent over and effed by the reactor officer." This part I heard from my divisional officer, who was in the back room. The FSO walked in to be face-to-face with 1 captain, 06, 1 commander, 05, 4 lieutenant commanders, and 6 lieutenants. He was the lowest ranking person there, minus the other lieutenants listening in on the morning brief. The RO, captain, turned to the food service officer and impatiently spat at our, "What can we do for you, sir?" food service office. "Your guys turned off our water last night without informing us. I demand immediate action against them." Reactor officer, "You have neither the rank nor the position to make demands. They turned off the water because you refused to feed my men. Mind telling us why?" Food service office, "The rations we ordered were not enough for this underway." Reactor officer, "Whose fault is that?" Basically shouting, "Because you're incapable of doing your job, my guys have to suffer?" Back to talking. "I actually took a look at your food orders this morning. The fact of the matter is, you have enough food to last us twice the allowed time on the underway. So now you're lying to me." Food service office, "No, Reactor officer, "No what? Food service office, "No, sir. I just want to ensure the entire ship keeps getting fed. On top of that, we don't have the staffing to continue to prepare reactor rats." Reactor officer, "The forward tally is closed to do overhauls. You're saying you cannot set aside 4 guys to feed my 20 guys on watch?" Food service office, "I can look into it." Reactor officer, "Make it happen." Turning to the RMO, "RMO, please inform your plant chiefs that of reactor rats is not served, that the watchstanders are authorized to turn off the galley water." Food service office, "You can't do th—" Reactor officer, "Watch your tone. You barged in here, made demands, and then try to tell me, someone who outranks you, not only by seniority, but by substantially in rank, how to run my department?" Food service office, "My apologies, sir. My men can't do their job of feeding the ship if that happens." Reactor officer, "Then they better have food tonight then, or I might have to bring this up with the CO tomorrow at our weekly lunch. Now get the F out of my office." We ate well that night. Best part is they tried not feeding us again 2 more times that underway. And yes, we did cut their water off. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.